Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Cologne podcast.
I'm Mike.
And I'm Ryan.
And we're two best friends going on a fragrance journey, smelling brand new fragrances, giving you uneducated opinions, and hanging out with our friend, Dan. Welcome to the show, Dan.
Hello.
Well, let's just jump right in, okay? Because we've been obsessing over, people are going to have heard by now, this Insidious Absolue that you just released.
Mm-hmm.
What made you guys go for, after you did Insidious, did you not just already have the mic drop done? You had to now do the Absolu version as well?
Yeah, Insidious Absolue seemed like the obvious next step, really. I've got a particular soft spot for Creed Aventus Absolu. I know it wasn't a universally beloved release, but actually right. I really like it.
Yeah.
Well, you know, it wasn't universally loved because all the Creed fanboys were like, give me 2011 patches. Give me.
Oh, yes. Yes.
No, you're not getting old patches. You're getting a different perfume. Sorry. Which is why it came as a bit of a disappointment to the, in inverted commas, community, you know? But actually, I really like it. I think it's a great release. It's a very... It's a very much more refined fragrance where sort of Aventus is a headbanger. Aventus Absolute is far more smooth and a little bit less. It's funny. I had a discussion with Steve about this Everyman Fragrances the other night, and he said it seems more grown up and more mature, and I was like, well, I think it's maybe a bit on the more youthful side.
That's what I said too. Okay, me and him have had this argument as well behind closed doors, because I think because he let his wife say it smelled like her dad.
Really?
And so then he was saying,
Dad's got good taste in fragrance.
I'm telling you, he's a proper geezer. Am I right?
Yeah, absolutely. Top geezer.
Okay, there we go.
But it seemed like the obvious next step for us. But I mean, there's a sort of just a commercial reality with a business like Insider, which is that you need to have a decent range of perfumes.
Right.
So we've been working away for the last, it's basically actually about a year's worth of work, maybe a bit longer, on rebranding the business and creating a whole new range of perfumes. And I wanted to try and keep in my head a few guiding principles. I know there will be people rolling their eyes and go, well, it's a fucking clone shop. And, guys, you'll be right. I can't deny that. But what I wanted to try and focus on was not just cloning every piece of shit that sort of has some commercial, sellability, right, but to try and focus on a few things. So, yes, old stuff which you cannot get or has been watered down, to the point where it's no longer available. Rarities and unusual things. So, just as for example, there's a fragrance based on a Ramon Malvisar Black Cube, right? Which no one's ever heard of. It's a curiosity, right? It's a sort of Spanish brand, very small niche. You can buy it still, but it's such a sort of niche little sort of curio that I wanted to sort of democratize that a bit. And then the other thing is just there's some crazy expensive perfume. Yeah. Perfume that sells for thousands and thousands of pounds. Now, it has no business selling for that price. That price bears no relation to the cost of production or anything like that. And again, I wanted to try and democratize that a little bit. So if you take a fragrance like Persian Rose, which is based on the Spirit of Dubai Narjesi, Narjesi will cost you what's £1,300? I guess about $1,800, something like that.
Probably
for a 90 ml. For a 90 ml bottle. That's quick math. Someone correct me.
USD's slowly tanking, so God knows it'll be 3,000 by the time we release it.
Yeah, absolutely. But the point being, it's stupidly expensive, right? No average punter is going to take a blind buy on an $1,800 bottle of perfume. And the reality is you can probably smell it in about 4 retail places in the world. So you're a bit stuck there. And what we've done is essentially democratize that. Now, there will be lots of people who think that's a shitty thing to have done. And sure, we can argue about the sort of commercial wherefores and realities of clone business. The reality for me is people want to smell this shit. It smells fucking great. Why not, you know? So anyway, the Creed Aventus Absolu, or the Insidious Absolute, seem like a natural follow-on. Now, I'm not sure which of those buckets it really fits in because it's sort of affordable, right? But at the point that we started work on it, it was actually a limited edition. They were like, oh, yes, well, this is limited edition. We're only making whatever it was, 3,000 bottles or something.
Right.
And of course, they've now bought it back, but that's sort of beside the point now.
Well, you can't believe anything these days. But
well, I have to say, you know, he smelled the original Creed Absolute. I haven't, so I don't know anything to base it off of. So for me, like if you just give me like an idiot's point of view really quick, is like, when I smell it, it does have that tone of Creed, but it's also kind of got almost am I incorrect here? Is it kind of got like a blue kind of fragrance thing kind of going on? Because it seems so smooth and wearable and like a very safe way, but it's honestly, it is loud and it is, to me, it's masculine. It's
right.
It's badass, man. But is it kind of a blue fragrance or no? Am I wrong on that?
So I guess it depends how you define blue fragrance, really. I tend to think of blue fragrances as being sort of shower gel, sort of that kind of vibe. And of course, the archetype of that genre would be Dior Sauvage.
Gotcha.
And yes, Aventus Absolute actually does get compared to Sauvage Elixir quite a lot. Now, I don't think they are identical by any stretch of the imagination, but there's certainly some similarity there. And there's a sort of dark, rooty, almost licoricey vibe in the Sauvage Elixir, which is similarly represented. It's not a licorice, no, I don't think, but there's a similar sort of representation in Aventus Absolute. So yeah, I mean, long way round, but yeah, I would go with there's a blueness to it for sure.
Well, I mean, as me just being kind of like fresh out of the water on it, I was literally blown away by the fragrance. Like y'all did a bang up job on it, seriously. And of the 3 that we got, this one was the standout one for sure. And man, he's worn it. It smells amazing. He smells on me. It smells amazing. We've had other people smell it. They all have had nothing but great things to say about it. So commend you like a lot on it. It is awesome.
I'm genuinely delighted to hear that. I mean, Ryan, you've never actually smelt the original. Mike, how do you think it compares? Because I think Ryan said you have, yeah?
I have. I haven't got to wear it, so I've smelled it 2 ways. I've smelled it on somebody, and then I've smelled it in Neiman Marcus, and it smelled great. So I don't have enough like experience with it to really get down to say it's 95% this, it's 95% that. But whenever I smell it, the first thing we said was, you smell the Aventus type DNA. It does smell like warmer, a little sweeter, a little smoother. It smells fantastic. And it kind of leads me to a question I wanted to ask you, because when I think about clone houses, I think about like a cheaper, not as good.
Yeah.
Like when you think of clones, typically you think of a knockoff, right? You think of something that's like not as good, but it'll get you by in a pinch. You know, but what are you doing differently than these other guys? Because everything we smell that we've gotten from you smells like almost better quality than at least with the Creed stuff. So what's your approach? You don't have to give away the secrets, but what's your approach that keeps you delivering like that?
So, well, it's very kind of you to say so, firstly, and it's great to hear that, because that is sort of the ambition here, right? Again, I'm sure there will be people rolling their eyes at this sort of notion of a high quality clone house, but I've been collecting perfume for decades now, right? And And I don't really have a problem with clones. I sort of got to the point where, well, look, Creed keep putting their prices up and they keep watering down their product.
Right.
Sorry, guys, but this is bullshit. So I personally don't have a problem with it. So I'm starting from that place, right? And others won't be. I just want to sort of level set.
Yeah.
But once I started from that place, I sort of was like, well, cool. But if we're going to do this, they do have to be good quality, right? I mean,
Absolutely.
there's tons of brands just knocking out bullshit, right? And charging $20-$30 for, weak, rarity oil type bullshit washed up with alcohol and stuck in a plain bottle. I didn't want to be that brand. I wanted to produce a quality product. And yes, it's a clone or an inspiration, but there's no reason it can't smell fucking great. Right. And it can't perform well, and it can't be in a nice bottle with a decent atomizer. And sure, ours are a bit more expensive as a result. But that's the sort of ambition. And the way I went about that was basically by contacting a perfumer who is, basically at the top of the tree, right, in the perfume business. So all the stuff on the Insider website about we work with an insider, a perfume industry insider, it's not bullshit. There is genuinely a master perfumer that we work with that I cannot name because that's part of the conditions of us working with them. And we thought, well, fuck it, let's make that a selling point of the business.
Yeah, that's great.
Smart. Yeah. So that's that's how we're producing decent quality stuff. We've got a great perfumer, and I know enough about perfume to know whether or not something's good enough. Or at least I like to think I do. And again, I'm really conscious of throwing stones in glass houses, but a lot of these clone brands are just cynical marketing exercises by people that don't really know anything about perfume. So they're not great judges about whether their product is good enough. They just want a product that they can sell on and compete on price. And what we're trying to do is compete on quality.
I'm going to agree with that sentiment, and I don't think that you're crazy on price. And I need to really just back this up and put a little caveat here. For the people that have not subscribed to our Patreon, we released an episode where we smelled this already, and we gave, probably just to skip ahead for you here, we gave really high marks to. We actually called a friend of ours named Nikki because she smelled it. She fucking loved it. Gave it a 10 based on how it smells and the price point on it. Right. And even on the episode, I'm like, guys, I know this sounds like we're like slurping this dude off on this, and it sucks, but
they are.
But it's just the reality of it. I mean, I feel like people can, just from the beginning of this interview, can see like, this guy's kind of like no bullshit, no frills on this. You're kind of being upfront and honest, and sometimes it might be a little brash, but we love this. I love it. Right. It's so good, and the price is not bad, and the quality is absolutely there. A Patreon member that we have, his name is Carson. He owns the original. He bought it before we even told him this was available. Yeah. And then he ordered the Insidious Absolue from you, and he fucking has the real one, and this one, he loves that one as well. He loves this.
Awesome.
So
that's fantastic.
It is all high praise, and I think we all feel that inner, like, we're not trying to like sound and feel shilly, but it is what it is.
I mean, why would we get on here and pitch something that we didn't wholeheartedly love either, though? I think the beautiful marriage that we kind of have with your products that you're making and our audience is that it's a perfect fit. Like the people who listen to us are kind of on the fringes of the fragrance community because we're clearly not the guys, you know, we're not wearing the lab coats and smelling the labdamum and all that other stuff. You know, like we have no idea, but we love stuff that smells good.
Exactly.
And most of the time we just can't afford to buy it. And I think we attract a lot of people in that similar boat that then come across something that is high quality. They're not afraid to spend their money because they've probably bought a ton of Latafas and stuff in the past. And they've kind of been like, oh, you know, it's kind of there. It's not, you buy to the hype too many times. And after a while you get cynical about all clone houses or inspired by fragrances.
I'm sure.
But this comes along And it's like, we can't say enough good things about it because it really is so good.
It's actually, it's genuinely really nice to hear that, because I do worry that we have overpriced stuff, but I can't afford to make it too much cheaper is the reality. Because if you're trying to do stuff like this at the sort of volumes we are, to the quality that we're aiming for, then it actually gets rather expensive. And funnily enough, the US is our biggest market now.
Yeah.
But our shipping to the US is so fucking expensive. And that's one of the things we are working on. So I've actually had meetings with DHL where they're going to try and get us a better price on the shipping to the States, which hopefully will allow us to increase our volumes, which then allow us to drop the prices further, and you get into a sort of virtuous circle on that. So it is something I'm conscious of. I do worry about that. But I mean, just on the point of price, I don't know whether it's at all useful, but I'm more than happy to offer a Cologne podcast discount for your listeners.
There we go, guys.
Of use.
Absolutely. And we're only getting $100 of every purchase. So
$100 of every purchase. Excellent. So basically,
such a great deal.
Basically, that's everything. That's everything and then some.
You're going to bankrupt Dan.
Yeah. That's our goal.
Awesome.
No, obviously we're not getting anything out of this. We're not getting any sort of kickback. This is just you being generous to our listeners.
I couldn't afford to pay you a kickback anyway. But it's lovely that you have to go and sort of make that disclaimer. I know we're not getting paid. Yes, he's clearly paying. Fucking what? What the fuck am I paying these guys with? Do me a favor. I've had to go back to work, so I start a new job on Monday.
Oh no! Yeah.
Well, no, I mean I don't mind that, but it's like the perfume business. It generates a bit of money, but it certainly doesn't generate enough money for the family to live on. So, you know, I don't have money to pay people to shill for me.
Well, at this point, you really don't have to pay. We just have genuinely a lot of excitement behind it, just because it is so good. Like, you guys really do care about it. And you're right. You differ in that from some guys that are just like, we have to compete against, you know, we have to have this thing to speak to the Aventus in the market, and we have to have this thing to speak to the Sauvage and the, you know, 1 millions or whatever, you know, but it's not really like that. It comes from a love of fragrances. You can tell that in the quality.
Absolutely. Thank you. Can I just go back to something you said? Because I think there's a really interesting link between our podcasts here.
Okay. Here we go.
So one of the things on Les Odorants is we quite often get people write in from America saying, oh, we love your podcast, but we don't really know what the names of the stores mean. So when you say this particular store, it doesn't travel very well. And you mentioned the name Neiman Marcus.
Yes,
and allow me to be the British cultural attaché.
Here we go,
and say I don't know what the fuck Neiman Marcus is. What's it? Is Neiman Marcus like a sort of drugstore, or is it like a department store?
It's like a designer store. You'd go in and you could buy YSL handbags and, you know, the Gucci, you know, bathrobes and stuff like that. And then they have a huge, like, they'll have a Creed counter, and they'll have, you know, what do you call it? Killian, you know, they'll have all those kind of,
and it's usually attached to the mall.
Yeah. To a mall.
A mall. Yeah.
So you mentioned that the Creed smelled great in there. And on our most recent episode, I made this point, which I absolutely swear by, is never, ever buy anything in one of those stores. And the reason being, everything smells great in there because you've got like this massive sensory overload.
Right, exactly.
Of, like, nice smelling stuff.
Yes.
But you don't know what the fuck it is you sprayed that smells good. No one has a clue.
Honestly, I'm glad you've kind of like double stamped that, because ever since we started this podcast, we learned that very early on, like in season 1, because there's a place about 2 hours west of us called the Scent Room. It's like I would guess a high-end.
It's a niche and indie type store where you go in. You're not going to find it in your designer shops in the mall or anything. These are like stuff that, they've got the Kajals and the Essentials and the House of Oud or whatever, that type of stuff.
And we would go there and smell all the stuff and we'd go, oh, we love this, we love that. But then, and he even bought a couple of things that are like actual full bottles, but we would literally get back here and he'd be like, what the fuck? It doesn't smell like what I smelled in there.
Absolutely.
So we've been preaching that for the longest time of like, seriously, whatever you smell in there, like take it home with you, at least in a decan or something, and like smell it and then see if you really like it or not,
Yeah. Basically, bad decisions are made in perfume.
Exactly.
Yeah. Impulsive decisions are made. Yeah.
Well, really quick, two things. Quickly, again, tell our listeners what the discount code was that you're offering. And then the other part.
Yes.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I should. I said I'd do that, and then I didn't tell you what it was, which is It's a very elegant way of me promising something and then welching on it. Discount? I don't remember that. Oh, yes. Cologne 15, Cologne 15 will get you 15% off, and I will go ahead and set that up before this show airs, and I'll leave that there until sort of the new year, I guess. And so anyone listening to this or catching up, and people do catch up, because I had a message. This is brilliant. I had a message today, in fact, asking about 100 ml bottles of Insidious, saying, look, I just listened to the Cologne podcast, and the owner of Insider said they're releasing these for Black Friday. And I had to reply, yeah, that was last year, buddy.
Takes a little longer for people to find our podcast.
Yeah. Well, they do. So anyway, it will be there until the end of December 2024.
There we go.
Listening later.
Well,
Brilliant.
My other thing was, and maybe Mike can show if he wants to, but seriously, this is the wildest atomizer that I have seen on a fragrance.
Let's see if
what the hell made you choose this?
Can catch this.
I mean, it's crazy.
Hold on.
Yeah, right in my eyes.
We just, we're pretty happy with that. So the bottles were easy to choose. But the atomizer, we got sent maybe 50 atomizers, and we just spent a lot of time pissing around, spraying stuff with them. And it's quite easy to spot a cheap atomizer and stuff. But we just tried it and we're like, fuck, that's the one.
It is nice.
I think it just gives this huge kind of cloud, and it's I don't know. It's funny. So this is how sad and indoctrinated my kids have become. I showed my eldest daughter the bottle. I said, "Look, this is the fully packaged Insider product. What do you think?" And she sort of opened it up, and she was going, "Nice," and sprayed it, and she went, "Ooh, nice atomizer."
There we go. It's hard to sell the kids on something that you're passionate about. Yes. So if they're impressed, you did good.
Absolutely.
Yeah. When we first started the podcast, my kids would go like, "Who am I? Everyone guess who I am," and then they'll do this. It's like just me walking around smelling whatever fragrance we sprayed that day on the episode. So most of the time they're just trolling us. But.
Yeah. Well, I mean, normally I have kind of at least 3 fragrances on each arm, different. So back of the hand, forearm, and upper arm are just kind of always 3 completely different things. So I find myself kind of walking around trying to smell different body parts and trying to remember what I'd sprayed on them and stuff. Yeah, my kids think I'm an idiot.
You're not alone. Our kids think, they think we're dumb too. So
speaking of idiots, by the way, there's 101 different ways you can respond to somebody on Fragrantica, but I came across one of your responses to somebody on Fragrantica, and I felt like you handled it like so well. And we've had this critique with companies before. And after reading your response, I was like, damn, we're idiots.
But
really? the comment was like, The comment was something like, yeah, like, fucking 10 releases in this amount of time, and this is bullshit, blah, blah, blah. And you just responded with like, I can see why you feel that way, but keep in mind, we've been working on this shit for like 2 years.
Yeah.
And you kind of broke it down, and you could have been defensive. You could have been an asshole.
Yeah.
But you handled it in a way that was, one, professional. You probably got to do that with your business, but also like it's just hard to take that type of criticism and then turn back and then still just like throw out.
I mean, I'll be honest. I have to bite my tongue. It's not like but
he's not a saint.
Yeah.
No. It's not like I sort of live on some higher plane of consciousness where this doesn't affect me. Of course, it affects me. And to be honest, that's, I don't know if I said this last time, but it's one of the reasons I never did YouTube, because I feel like people who do YouTube get so much abuse and stuff.
Absolutely.
I just never wanted that. The juice isn't worth the squeeze for me. But what I have sort of learnt over the years, I think it's a British idiom, but you catch more flies with honey than you do with vinegar. Right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
It's easier. It's better. It's better to be nice in the long run, even if that's difficult. So I usually, once I have this sort of monkey brain response, like, how fucking dare you say that, you fucking ass? Right. And I know not to write anything. And then I go away and I think about it and I write something nice. And, someone sent me an email to Insider saying, your products are fucking ridiculously overpriced. I was like, yeah, no, I know they're expensive, mate. And honestly, I wish I could make them cheaper. But I do stand by the quality. So maybe, if price is an issue, you might want to pick up a travel atomizer, because we do the travel atomizers now.
That's
a way of
great.
discovering the band.
Yeah.
And they eventually bought one, which was like, yes. And they said they loved it. So cool. I'm happy with that.
That kind of falls into a question I think I was going to ask. We had a listener that was asking if y'all made discovery sets, or is that something y'all plan on doing?
So yes and no. So the one thing that was important to me was that we put the discovery atomizers in, the 10 mil ones, right?
Yeah, okay.
Because we can produce them and sell them for a fair price, and they're a good way of people discovering stuff without spending an absolute fortune.
Right.
But what we can't do is produce 2 ml samples and then sell them. So, because it's just not economically viable, especially when we've got like 21 or 22 fragrances now. The plan is to try and add at least kind of 6 a year. So, pretty quickly, you get to the point where, you can't produce a pack of 26 or 27, whatever, 2 ml samples. Well, I've seen brands do it, but I mean, it's madness, right?
Yeah.
And then you can't sell them, and it's a complete faff. So what we are doing is going to start putting 2 ml samples of forthcoming releases in for free with bottle purchases. So you can't buy them, but it's a way, hopefully, of getting people to try the new releases before they're out. And then when they are released, they can go, oh, yeah, no, I tried that. I like it. I can buy it, or, it wasn't for me, whatever.
I love that. That's a great idea.
That is a seriously good idea.
Honestly, for me, the travel atomizers is good enough, because if you're looking for a more affordable option to a fragrance you already love, it's not much of a risk just to get 10 mil and try it out, wear it, see what you think of it. And if you
Multiple
really like
wears.
it, honestly. Yeah. And then you can get the bottle.
Absolutely.
And quite a lot of people we found are ordering like 5, 6, as many as, I think one person ordered 12 discovery atomizers, which for us is great, because obviously, we make some money on that. It's worth us to absorb some of the loss on the shipping. So even I mentioned our shipping to the States, we're actually losing money when we ship to the States, because DHL are absolutely fucking us on this at the moment. Hopefully we will get that fixed. But when someone orders eight travel atomizers, it's like, great, that's a perfect order for us because we're not then losing money on anything, and they get to try loads of different stuff, and hopefully they buy a bottle. And if they don't, well, that's okay because we didn't lose money on what we sold them in the first place.
Right.
Well, let me ask you, I'm going to kind of ask you a couple of questions that we've had asked, and I think some of them have been kind of answered. Nothing crazy. They want to know, like, how many scents are you looking to have in the catalog? They're also kind of asking where your plans are to grow the brand, and I feel like you kind of somewhat answered it because you seem to say that the States over here, like, this is kind of your biggest market. And then the last one, what are some scents you've tried that you haven't come out yet that you may be thinking of putting with the brand?
Oh, they're trying to get some inside scoop from Insider.
Okay. So I should. Hey, that's good. That is good. I should have written down all the questions. So make sure I answer all of this. But what I'll do is I'll ramble on and then kick me if it's wrong. So. At the moment, we got, as I said, something like 21, 22 fragrances. We have currently about 5 in development, of which I would say 2 I'm definitely happy with and we're definitely launching. So what we're definitely happy with is a Roger Dove Amber Oud. Which is a personal favourite, and a Henri Jacques Bleu Vanille. So Henri Jacques is obviously it's this. In the UK you can only buy Henri Jacques in Harrods. They've got this sort of oak panelled boutique. If you want to try something, a Parisian steps forward and dabs 1 drop of oil on your wrist. The Gourmet, monsieur. And it's all very wonderful. And then they rinse you like sort of 700 quid for 15 mil of perfume oil. And they are amazing quality. They smell fucking fabulous, right? There's no getting away from that. But there is no way on earth most people will get to smell Bleu Vanille, which is a shame because it's a beautiful, beautiful vanilla fragrance, and it's got a sort of bluish shower gel sort of aspect fused with this quite sweet but full-bodied vanilla that is just unbelievably grown up and seductive. I fucking love it. It's one of the best fragrances you'll ever try, and I am absolutely delighted with the quality of our perfume that imitates it. So that one will be coming very soon. And then you asked about growing the brand. I mean, at the moment, we're going for the organic growth stuff, right? So we are hoping that people will tell their friends about it, that they will write reviews on Trustpilot or Fragrantica. And we're going to have to get into paid Google adverts, I'm sure, because there's a certain scale that we have to get to in order to be able to access better shipping and to be more economically viable. Because I'm certainly not pleading that I'm on the breadline or anything. The business makes well, but the fact is, I do have a job, right? I've gone and taken a day job. I work in cybersecurity during the day, and it's very exciting. And I love my job. In case my boss is listening, but the reality is, I'd love it if Insider and Soma as brands were able to support me, but they're not.
Yeah, we would love that too.
Maybe one day.
They should. I mean, it's kind of few and far between that you run into things like this where it actually, the quality matters, the experience for the consumer matters this much. You're doing what a lot of them don't do, which is creating access. It's not just about peddling goods. Like you're trying to make things more attainable, and that's what we've searched for this whole time with sampling and decanting and stuff like that, because we've been preaching that for forever. Like, guys, don't buy the bottles. You don't have to just to experience a great fragrance. This is another way to do that. And it's like, I would feel so confident just recommending somebody go and even buy just the 10 mil or whatever, because you care so much about the quality, and we've experienced enough to where we could go, you know what, you may not have $700-800 to drop on this one, but I'm pretty sure this would be damn close, and we know it's going to be good.
Yeah.
So you just said a word there, which I think is fantastic, which is about obtainable. And just a little story. I shared with a marketing friend, but a friend who's in marketing, this idea behind the brand that I said I wanted it to be around the concept of unobtanium. Right, the things that you can't get.
Yeah,
and he told me it was a fucking terrible idea. Do not use the word unobtanium, he said. I was like, really? I like it. I like the word. So it was nice to hear.
Some sort of, thing that the bones of Wolverine's made out of or something.
Yeah, exactly. He said it sounds fucking stupid. Sounds like sci-fi to me.
You got a comic book on your hands.
Yeah.
No, I love that. But yeah, that's it, man. Trying to get access to these amazing things. It's about the experience. People who really do love fragrance and really just love the full interaction with it, the experience of it, making that accessible to people is a huge thing. And this is one more way to do it. And you're killing it, man. We absolutely love it. You sent us a couple more that were inspired by Roy. Was it Crown? What is it?
Yeah, those ones like, was it Crown Royal Prince?
Yeah. But what's the
Crown Prince is, Royal, what do they, Royal Crown Sultan.
Yes.
Royal Crown Sultan. So Royal Crown are this sort of quite niche Italian house. They charge primo money, mental money for their products. The fragrances themselves are quite simple, but really nicely done.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, no one else is doing that one. Let's do that one.
So the funny thing about that brand is I remember the first time I interacted with it, because I do photography. So occasionally if I'm really desperate for money, I'll second shoot a wedding for another photographer. I hate shooting weddings, but I will do it if I'm broke.
Everyone does.
Yeah. So I saw this, and this was right after we had started the podcast, and I sent Ryan a picture. I was holding it. The groom had got it, the fragrance, and I took a picture of it. I sent it to Ryan. I'm like, look at this wild ass fragrance. And so I asked the groom, I say, hey man, what made you get this fragrance to wear? And he goes, I just went into the store and asked for the most expensive fragrance they had.
Well, I mean, you've got to admire the honesty, right? But, boy, I saw him coming up.
Yeah, whoever was like, oh, baby, here we go. Yeah.
Well, sir, have I got just the thing for you? This one's got a crown on it,
Exactly. What about Soma? How's that going, man?
Soma's going pretty well. I mean, it's slow and steady, I would say. We are working on a rebrand. It's actually not going to be a rebrand, but at least an overhaul to the website to make it a bit more professional. Hopefully next year. Most of the energy has been taken up with Insider, is the reality. So, I don't expect any sympathy, but you have no fucking idea how much effort goes into producing, that many fragrances and launching simultaneously. If I had a huge team, I'm sure it would be much easier, but it's basically me and a mate and the perfumer, and so everything just takes a fucking age. I personally filled and labeled and capped and boxed something like 2,500 bottles.
Wow.
It's all I did. It's literally all I did every day for about 4 weeks. It is the most unbelievable slow process.
Good.
So that's taken up all my time.
Yeah.
And now I'm going back to work to do a proper job rather than themes.
You had to take a sabbatical just to do all that boxing.
Yeah.
Good Lord.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, with Soma, I'm obsessed with that Halcyon Oud. That is so good.
Oh, great. Yeah.
Man,
that is now our bestseller, actually, Halcyon Oud, by some way. Halcyon Oud has eclipsed Halcyon. And we also, we'd previously discontinued one called Blonde, which is a very fresh, it's the inspiration. I always feel slightly nauseous when I say, the inspiration for my perfume. But the inspiration is a sort of holiday lazing by the pool kind of thing.
Okay,
and the blonde was not a reference to blonde hair. It was like a reference to blonde woods.
Okay.
So blonde woods, blue pool, that kind of thing. And it's very fresh and zippy. We relaunched that actually because we got quite a lot of demand for it. So that's doing quite well. Halcyon Oud does well, and then the rest of them just sort of tick by, which is cool. But we've also launched the same travel discovery atomizers for Soma.
Oh, cool!
Which,
okay,
again, it's been a good way of kind of getting people to be able to access the brand without committing to a full bottle.
Yeah, because God, a lot of them are good. You kind of want to smell quite a few of them because and for real, like because you sent us samples. Yeah. And it was like, God, which ones do we want? I think you sent Ryan and I each one. Then I bought two more bottles because I was like, God, this shit is so good.
And then after he got his stuff, right? And I had the Verde. You gave me the Verde Redux. And
that's it. Yeah. Man,
he smells that every time. And he's just like, I should have got this.
Oh, man. It's so... him and I, this is how old we are. We're just old men. We went to bingo night and
yes, bingo. That's awesome.
Joe. So we go to bingo and I'm like, I know Ryan is going to wear something loud. So I'm like, I got to wear a loud fragrance. Yeah. And all I could smell is what he's wearing. And I kept going like, what the fuck are you wearing? It's like, it's so good. I'm obsessed with it. I couldn't stop talking about it. And finally he was like, you don't know what this is? And I was like, I can't put my finger on it, but I was like, God, it smells so good. And he goes, it's the
Verde Redux.
It's the Soma. And I was like, God, I second guess myself. They're so good.
So your fragrance that you created has traveled across ocean water, landed in a small East Texas town.
It made it to bingo night.
Made it to bingo night with a bunch of like 90-year-old people.
Yeah.
And I'm not ashamed to say that I freaking sprayed the hell out of it.
And he won that night, probably because of that.
Can I just check that bingo in the USA is the same as bingo here? That it's basically a bunch of numbers and someone shouting out numbers.
Yes.
And okay, so we are talking about the same thing.
Yeah.
It does surprise me just a little bit that you two guys are avid bingo enthusiasts.
Every Saturday night.
Well, it's more so for the kids.
Yeah.
It's like super cheap. This is like in a really like older area. So it's like super cheap. It's like literally like $2 a card. And like some of the payouts are like, swear to God, some of the payouts are like $10-15.
Right.
And, but at the end of the night, they do everybody puts, all the cards you buy, they count the money up, and like the biggest jackpot's like $100 and something usually. But the kids get excited, and it's like cheap, easy food, and they have like cakes and stuff. So, us.
It's all to like support our volunteer fire department. Yeah. Basically,
I should have started with that. Yeah.
So so it's all just like, but people are bringing like they'll home make pies and stuff like that, and then you go and you pay really cheap, $1, and they'll give you a piece of pie or something, and it's all been donated, so they're just raising money. But the kids go out and they're just excited because they're like, what if I win $100? I can play so much Fortnite. So we bring them out and do that.
I really have to visit you guys. That just sounds so cool. It's very, very different to a Saturday night in Manchester, I have to tell you.
Okay, seriously, the invitation's already sent out. We've got an extra bed. It's a king size. Nobody's been in it. You got your own private bathroom. You're good, dude.
That's it. Yeah, the rest of it's just a bunch of studio stuff.
I'm going to have to do it.
You've got an open invite whenever you want. Just bring us a bottle of, something that smells good.
Excellent.
Well, I think that's a great way to kind of close it out. Is there any closing remarks other than Cologne 15 that you want our listeners to know? You want to tell us anything else?
No, not really. The only thing I'd say is, if people want to talk about this crap with me, just drop me an email at Insider. So it's like team@insiderparfums.com. I answer all the emails myself, mostly because there's no one else to do it. But if people want to ask questions about it, just ask away. We're not a big business, right? I don't have like a fleet of clerical people dealing with our social media and all that sort of shit. Right. It is literally me, right? And if people would like to get in touch and talk about this crap, I am always happy to talk about perfume. You don't have to commit to buying anything or anything like that. If you want to drop me an email and just talk shit about perfume, I'm here for it. That's
awesome.
He loves it. We love it. You got a podcast. We got a podcast. We can't stop talking about it, guys. So
we can't.
But honestly, if you're listening and you're really excited about fragrances and you actually want to get behind people who love fragrances and are trying to do something meaningful, they're not just trying to make a buck off of you. It's good to get behind businesses like this. It's the reason why we get so excited about it. Because it's not just another company, but it's a person. It's Dan over there that cares enough about fragrances, and he wants you guys to experience the things that you can't get your hands on.
Absolutely, man. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast, for sure. Thank you for giving us this bottle, which is going to go to one of our Patrons. So
I didn't want it to. He put me on the spot on an episode, and I was just like,
well, I tell you what. Let's do that slightly differently. You keep that one, and if you send me the address of your Patreon winner, I will send out a bottle to them directly.
Yes, man, that's awesome. I knew if I whined about it enough, the universe would open up something to me. Perfect. You hear that? So
you manifested the shit out of that one.
Absolutely. Well, that just made my night. Cool. So awesome. We'll one of our lucky Patreons will be linking you up with Dan, and you'll get your own 50ml bottle of Insidious Absolue.
Man, Dan, thank you. Thank you so much. And guys, we appreciate you guys for listening. And until next time,
spray it up, y'all.